of the dark? Are you scared? I am you.
And now we're running down the halls. No, we can't let them win. There's an evil inside. Just looking way down below. And if I can't hold my breath, then I'm bound to become hollow. Can you say that I disappeared? Can you say that I wasn't there for you when you went into hiding on the front steps of your porch? And I reflected on the memories, but I put out that torch. Hey! But I put out that torch. But I put out that torch. You make me feel like home. You turn around, I feel the breeze over me. You watch your dreams unfold. Let it come around and let it breathe over me. It's time to go away into the light. I feel the calming energy. I see the darkness coming, and I'm calling you to help me set me free. I'm calling for you. I'm calling for you.
Welcome, college esports fans, to our live broadcast here from the PACG. We're in downtown Salt Lake City at the University of Utah, the historic Einar Nielsen Fieldhouse. My name is Jake Superman Moore. I'm casting alongside Ben Jihadre Sorensen. We're going to be casting for you some League of Legends action this evening. Amazing collegiate esports. We're going to start out this evening by having University of Utah, our very own boys in red, taking on UC Boulder in their best of 3. We'll have a follow-up match later on this evening between Stanford and Oregon State, not University of Oregon, right? Oregon State University. You can see it on your screen there. Looking at those matches, we're now into week 3. This is day 2 of the Pacific Alliance of Collegiate Gamers Spring Tournament of League of Legends. Utah is up 1-0. That's in match score, not total game score, because that's what we're tracking here. Colorado 1-1, so they might be able to bring themselves to a 2-1 or 1-2. Colorado might get their second win. Could be Utah getting their second win in that first set. And you'll see we'll follow that up after their best of 3 with Stanford looking to get their second win and Oregon State looking to put themselves on the board.
Exactly. And we've seen a lot of good things from all 4 of these teams. In fact, just last week we watched Colorado and Oregon State go at it. They had their best of 3. Fantastic stuff, very evenly matched. We watched Stanford come back from what looked like a definitely bad series against Oregon. And then the games for Utah, again, they were against Washington State?
I believe, it was Utah and Washington State, if that was a ULAL match. If it was PACG, I think Utah might have taken on Oregon, University of Oregon. I'll have to pull that up. But,
yeah.
Good showings from all of these. It was that, now the matchup isn't going to be Colorado versus Oregon tonight.
No.
That was a few weeks back.
Yeah, it was a couple weeks.
And that was when Colorado got their first win in PACG, and it was a 2-0 for that series against Oregon State University.
Yes, against Oregon State.
Oregon State playing against Stanford this evening. Stanford had to win in 3 games, though.
Yeah, they definitely did, and it was really hard fought, but, Oregon, a fantastic team. Not Oregon State. We have to keep differentiating there. Oregon State, those Ducks, they put up a really good fight. They are the team that beat Colorado during week 1. And it was really, really good to see Stanford really stepping up and showing some excellent play. That Tristana, though, it was the name of the series. It was the Tristana later on in the game that just dominated everything. Both teams won with that.
It was a beauty to cast for sure, because not only do I love it when these series go to game 3, go to 3 games, but when you have that level of gameplay just back and forth and back and forth, and then you have it that late game and the hero emerges there out of the Tristana, who I believe, if I remember correctly, earlier in the cast, I was like, man, this guy's stepping out of place, out of position, just playing bad.
Yeah,
and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, it seems, post 35 minutes, he's just melting team fights left and right. So, I mean, I would love to see more of the same here from Stanford.
Same here. So while we are talking about it, you mentioned PACG and everything like that. Why don't we explain a little bit what the PACG is?
Yeah.
All right. So the PACG is the Pacific Alliance of Collegiate Gamers. It's a group of 10 schools coming from the Pac-12 who got together to make this fantastic league here. They are divided into the North and South divisions, and then each one of those schools listed there will be playing against them throughout the 8-week season to see which 2 of those teams are going to go on into finals week.
3 out of the 5 will go on.
3.
It's the 2 of the bottom. So out of the 5 per group, you can see, then they'll move on to the playoffs, which will be taking place over like a week of play. 3 matches, up to, right? Because it matters just with the single elimination. We'll still be doing series for the playoffs, not just best of 1. So, and then that, as you mentioned, we'll go into that finals week where, and it's not just for League of Legends that week.
No,
that
you're
entire
right.
week is just going to be super high octane. You've got League of Legends, you've got Hearthstone, you've got Rocket League, and of course Overwatch, all going to be happening in that same week coming up in just a while. So it's 8 weeks of regular play. And with the round robin, you're playing against your division, though you also get to play and hope that you're in, again, out of the 5 for your division, you have to be in the top 3 to advance to playoffs. So as you can see here, for the South Division, you have Arizona, that's University of Arizona, Arizona State University, that you'll be seeing, that you saw earlier last week, and then UCLA, their first showing was on Monday, which was pretty good, and then USC and Washington State University.
Then over in the North, we have Colorado, who we will be seeing tonight, University of Oregon, Oregon State University, who we will also see playing against Stanford, and then the University of Utah, they're finishing up that division.
Yeah,
Good stuff.
And so Stanford and Utah will be playing this evening, as well as Oregon State University and Colorado. So we've got a North Division play out tonight. Utah v. Colorado, followed by Stanford and Oregon State. We're getting that lobby set up for you guys just to get underway. Looking at our first matchup of the evening, we might as well take a look at the lineups for these two teams. Utah v. Colorado, you can see boys in red, Utah. They've got Swish in the top lane. Kraton in the jungle. We're subbing in Kenya today at mid lane with James and 80 carry, supported today by Toast rather than Adam Josh 11.
And then moving over here onto the red side, Colorado will be represented by Ragnar the Sexy in the top lane, Joe Mickey running in the jungle. I am Order, keeping order in the mid lane. Dapper Dave jumping on 80 carry with Jin James in the bot lane as his support.
Yeah, and these two teams are relatively evenly matched. There's pretty close MMRs overall, other than, it's good to note there, James, the 80 carry for University of Utah, their star player, multi-season challenger, hundreds of LP, so not just, the cusp of challenger. It's always important to note, because the MMR difference, the ELO difference between bottom edge challenger and top end of challenger can be the massive difference in skill, similar to the gap between, say, silver and low diamond. It can be that massive of a difference in total skill level just when it comes to solo queue, of course. So James, really high-rated player there, well-known in the challenger scene. He's been there for a while. 80 carry star here for University of Utah. Always does well and tries to carry from that bottom lane. We've seen him pop off. You mentioned the Tristana. Very true. But Colorado's bottom lane is their strength as well. So it'll be an interesting 2v2 down there. Dapper Dave has popped off on the Callista and whatnot. Those earlier game champions for certain here on our matches here at PACG.
I think the difference between the two is Dapper Dave sometimes puts himself in compromising situations, and I think that's why that's the biggest distinction between the two is James maybe in the early game will step here or there a little off, but then will come back and have immaculate positioning, immaculate team fighting, whereas Dapper Dave is kind of the opposite. Early in the game, the guy is untouchable. He just dominates the lane.
Yeah.
Makes great plays, has a lot of help from Joe Mickey setting all of that up, but then later on, I think he thinks he's too fed and gets a little too careless. So we're going to need to see a little bit extra care coming from Dapper Dave in this one, especially because his opposition is the main carry for the opposing team.
Yeah, and you mentioned just the difference in these play styles. James, of course, has always relied on Adam Josh. This will be our first showing here with Toast instead in the bottom lane. Has always relied on his support to make those early plays, which, of course, as any 80 carry would, he can follow up on and maybe capitalize on those plays. But normally, he just plays it back, hoping to scale up, focus on that CS. Always does amazing with CS.
Yes.
Which is important for the 80 carry for sure. But of course, lets his supports make those early plays, whereas Dapper Dave's kind of the inverse, where his support is the one to make sure that he just stays healthy when he's the one who dictates the tempo, how he wants that lane to play out, not waiting on his support to make these plays, but rather starting them up, making them himself, and playing out as best he can with what he can hopefully bring for himself in just that 2v2.
And that actually explains a lot about the picks for these teams as well, because we see a lot of like Alistar and Thresh and Lulu and the like for the University of Utah, whereas on Colorado it's more of the Karma and the Janna, just like you said, letting Dapper Dave set up the play and then the follow-up and the shields and everything coming afterward from Jin James. It's really interesting to see the differences between the different players. And speaking of differences, let's talk about similarity here. Kraton and Joe Mickey, they're both really similar.
Yeah, they really are. Their champion pools overlap quite heavily. You'll see that come through in the draft, I'm sure, where whatever you decide to ban away, you're hoping to pick whatever's left as another way to steal away from the opposing team's champion pool. Just as a side note, too, for our viewers out there, in terms of what you see on your screen here, the match score is correct. Utah's only played the one in PACG, and they did go 2-0. Again, I believe that was against Washington State University. And then Colorado here has played against both Oregon teams.
Yes.
Oregon State University, who you'll see take on Stanford later this evening, and University of Oregon. Now, they did fall to University of Oregon in week 1. They got 0-2'd, so their game score should be 2-2 because first they get 0-2'd, and then they 2-0'd OSU coming into week 2. Now we're here in week 3. They'll be taking on University of Utah, hoping to bring that, if you're a Colorado player, you want to see that go to 4-2. You'd like to see a quick 2-0 from whichever team you're rooting for this evening.
Definitely. And like you said, these teams should be relatively close. It should be really good games, really competitive, especially because of the things we've already talked about. Kraton and Joe Mickey, very, very good about not only finding the plays, but making the plays, getting stuff like the Jarvan and the Zac into the fights, getting the crowd control down, starting those team fights. James and Dapper Dave able to carry super, super well. And so it will be a lot of fun to talk about those things throughout the whole match, see which team actually makes their win condition work.
Yeah, and while we're still waiting for a couple Colorado players to get into the lobby here, talk to me about this top lane. Ragnar the Sexy has brought out his token singed play here at PACG and done very well with it, despite the one game that we did get to see it. They lost as a team, but we saw his performance was suffocating in that top lane. There's really nothing to do against such a clean singed player.
No, and that's exactly it. That's why a lot of people don't like playing against Singed, is because the strategy is so non-interactive. A lot of top laners are, I think, still kind of stuck in that fighter juggernaut meta, instead of moving on to the tank and teleport and crowd control type of idea. And so when you're put up against a Singed, which you can't fight, because if you're in melee range, you're getting hit with a poison, and you can't stop him from proxying and all those other things, it's just not fun to play. Yeah. And it can be so devastatingly good, especially with the amount of damage you can build while still being tanky. It is so hard to fight something like that. It takes a lot of coordination, and it takes a lot of damage.
So when it comes to that top lane and the possible Singed pick, if it's not going to be banned out by Utah, what do you think they'll pick into it for Swish? And do they pick it earlier? Do they wait until later in the draft?
Honestly, I think it's hard to counter-pick Singed. You would think you would want something kind of like a Jace or a Gnar, one of those ranged top laners, to try and stay away from the poison but still CS effectively. But I'm not sure. I know Swish plays really well on those two champions specifically. We saw a fantastic Ornn game by him, also some Poppy. He's got quite the arsenal. I think if you're Utah, you just ban it, because it is annoying. And more than the effectiveness of the champion, you don't want to deal with it itself because it's annoying, right? You have to put something against it. You have to follow the split. You have to be able to answer that pressure that he's going to be bringing. And then his team fight, even though he is a non-interactive champion, he is just so durable that you can't really waste your resources focusing him, or that'll give Dapper Dave and I Am Order a great opportunity to just turn it around. And then Ragnar still gets out scot-free because he's a tanky Singed.
Yeah, for sure. And early on, when you have any winning lane, that frees up either your jungler to show up and get more free kills because there's extra pressure there, perhaps even kill threat, or your jungler has to give zero care to that lane because it's already winning so hard, and it opens them up to have extra pressure elsewhere on the map. Be that mid lane for I Am Order or Dapper Dave's bottom lane. We'll see if the Singed comes through and if it plays out in that way. Interestingly enough, you mentioned some of Swish's favorite champions, the Poppy pocket pick, the more meta picks like Ornn and the like. Those ones are known to be countered by the Singed, so it's even harder to play those tanks into that matchup. Though Jace, we've seen Swish play some of that in the past. I don't recall him bringing it out in any PACG performances thus far.
Not yet.
But I know it is in his champion pool. It's really the only one that does well into it. But you and I have casted many a game where Jace seems to just not do anything, just exist, if not feed straight up right there from the top lane, because there's so little that he can do in 1v2s to get out of bad situations when he's getting ganked. And unless you're heavily punishing and pressuring the 1v1 matchup because of that massive amount of ranged damage that you can bring as Jace, then you're not getting anything out of it, and you're going to get outscaled by some tank that can do more for a team fight.
Yeah, and I think if you are going to pick a Jace, that means you need to adapt elsewhere, right? So the top lane is normally one of those tankier picks. Maokai, even sometimes. You have the Poppy, the Ornn is really popular, or the fighters in the likes of Gnar and Gangplank and such. But if you do that, then you need to answer it with your mid lane pick, something like a Galio or a Kassadin, someone who's going to be durable, so that you have that extra presence, and then you just have to play extra safe in your top lane because it is so long. But then you can put a little bit more aggression into your mid lane and follow that one up with your jungler presence and get that one ahead, so that you just have that nice easy farm lane up in the top.
Yeah, we'll have to see how the draft goes for the top lane. Talked about different possibilities, answering and or banning the Singed. In the jungle, we talked about how they have these, like the shared champions, right? The Jarvan, the Sejuani, all those frontline, even like the early game initiation champions, like the ones I mentioned, even including Jax at the very edge. More likely to see something like the Zac come through.
Yeah.
But I imagine there's just too many. The bans would either have to be entirely, almost entirely, if not complete, solely focused on banning out jungle and picking away like a first pick for blue side for Utah. Other than that strategy, it's like wasting jungle bans. Because if there's just so many possible picks, then banning away certain things, you have to have built some sort of specific strategy around banning something in particular away. That you're just, we really don't want to play against fill in the blank, and that's what you ban. But normally that takes a lot of not only scouting ahead of time, but practice. Many scrims where you say, is it really that important for us to ban this one specific champion away? Be that like the Jarvan, or the Zac, or the Sejuani, or even those last seen picks like the Nunu, like the Jax, that you just say to yourself, I really don't want to play against this. Can we get rid of it? Yes, no, maybe. But when those champion pools are shared to such a degree, you're always stepping on your own toes as well, if you're not first picking something away.
One of the champions you just mentioned, the Nunu, I think that might be the route Utah might want to go. Because if you start banning with Zac, then they're going to answer with the J4. And then you ban the Sejuani, and they're like, oh, well, the next top jungler is Jax, right? But we've seen Kraydon do a really good job with the Nunu.
We have, yes.
Especially with Kenya in the mid lane. He plays Azir. And that would be really cool to see with the Nunu. And then with James being your star player, you put him on an auto attacker. That's another big thing I want to see. I don't want to see him playing Ezreal.
Yeah.
He's much better when he can sit and consistently auto attack and get those attack speed buffs and just keep dealing out the damage. Ezreal is too slow for his playstyle. I
would love to see an 8.4 Nunu Azir.
It would be great.
They do have Kenya subbed in the mid for Soul Rush. Kenya, the more likely the Azir player.
Yeah.
Soul Rush does play, but it's not in his higher list of champions as much as it is for Kenya. But you know what I wouldn't mind seeing from Kenya either? That Victor
dear.
again, man.
Oh, that was
Victor
beautiful.
Was so
That's
much
right.
fun to see.
Oh,
Copying
man.
some of those other high elo Victor players, you mentioned that they talked about it on the dive, where building Gauntlet, Iceborne Gauntlet, and more of those health stacky, like tanky fighter build for Victor. It's exciting to watch because you're normally used to seeing Victor run into these fights, kind of be on the back end of it, but still close enough to just burst people. But look for opportune moments to burst someone rather than just throwing out spells on cooldown and chasing people down, slowing them, and getting these gravity fields, lock people down. It's really, really cool to see.
It's a great understanding of the champion that brought that build about because you always have that hex core. You will always have it. It always scales. It's always damage. So then if you understand that and realize that the new runes are there to help you burst, you know, get the Scorched on there, get the Comet, those kind of things, you don't need to build that much AP.
Yeah.
And with the extra bonus movement speed that they just added to it's his Q, right? The Siphon Power?
Yeah, it's that you get more tankiness. You get more shield.
Yeah. And you can just kite around, and that empowered auto attack will also be empowered by the Iceborne Gauntlet, slow them, you're moving faster. It's just a phenomenal way to look at that champion.
Yeah, and it's really exciting for me to think about because with the new item changes on 8.4, there's a lot more just value in building mono-stacking items. The new Archangel Staff is one of the strongest items League of Legends has ever had, in my opinion, in the current iteration of it. And to add Gauntlet on top of that, and you know that the Hex Core gives you mana per level, you just have such a massive mana pool that all will then give you additional ability power that even going that tanky build, you still are not wanting for damage.
No, not at all. And you know, even in that tanky build, like we saw Bjergsen on Rise get his own shield from the champion and then popping Seraphs. It was like more than half his hit point bar.
Yeah.
It was just huge. And so I am willing to say that the same thing would be true of Victor, especially because he does get the shield from his Q, and then you add the Seraphs on there. You can just stand in a fight and auto attack and stuff.
We'll have to see. We're finally ready for that champion select. We'll bring the draft onto your screen in just a moment here. Again, this is going to be University of Utah taking on University of Colorado in a best of 3. Now, this is not the same exact lineups that you would have seen from Saturday if you joined us where on Saturday we had a best-of-3 matchup for College LOL. It was ULOL, the official Riot-sponsored tournament between these two schools, not the exact same teams, many of the same Utah players. It was Kenya who showed up big, too, for Utah with, we were just mentioning, the Victor pick, and James down there in the bottom lane. It was Toast. It was not Toast.
No, it was Adam Josh.
Yeah, it was Adam Josh who played through that series, but they did bring out the victory on Saturday against essentially an entirely different squad here from Colorado.
Yeah, it's a completely different set of players here. But Utah hoping to keep that rivalry alive and winning, because they do. They have a school rivalry here. I think it's called the Rumble in the Rockies.
Yes,
that's what we found last week. And Utah, and especially Colorado, after their organization suffered the loss on Saturday, they're really looking for their win here. And I'm liking the bans they're putting out here, the Lulu and the Jana here against Toast, because they understand that those two champions with the Ardent Sensor is really going to buff up the James on that AD carry. And so I think that those are really good targeted bans. And it's interesting that you and I talked about maybe banning out Jungle Pool for Utah, but instead it's the Orianna and the Tom Kench coming out here. Completely different direction than we were thinking.
Yeah, they are going to take away those shield heal supports. Those are mostly going to be, in my opinion, bans away from James. Though they're not his champion pool, duh, right? They're not marksmen. But the less safety that James can have from the support role, the harder it is, as you mentioned, for him to make it through aggressive plays that might happen to him in the early game that would honestly just stop his ability to get to that late game if you can play it out properly. We'll have to see what happens with those last couple bans for the first ban phase before we get into picks in just a moment.
And now we do see a little bit of an update here on the refresh. It does look like Akonda is subbing in instead of Joe Mickey in the jungle role here.
Yep.
And that's a big deal, actually, because Akonda was one of those players who did play on Saturday and did very, very well. He was very strong in getting the ganks out. I think he played Rek'Sai even one game, did he not?
He might have. I think so. Yeah.
I have a note here saying
I think the Rek'Sai, it was his pick. It is one of his higher play rates, for sure. But it looks like they're going to trade out all of these support bans, letting that jungle pool is completely wide open. This first pick is going to be that Skarner, answered by mid lane. I was playing some Malzahar just the other day. He's so strong right now with the new Leandries and Rylai's is massive amounts of damage. It's more than you would be ready for if you're used to playing against Malzahar, simply because of the changes to Leandry. And of course, that jungle also going to be locked in. It's going to be Akonda on the Gragas. Finally, you see the bottom lane is going to be the Lover's Lane.
I love it.
Answered by Jinjin James. His signature Karma pick has come through.
And I'm not surprised by that, actually, at all. I think Jinjin James, very comfortable on it, very good on the Karma. I think it's a very wise decision. And now I think we're going to see some ADC pinching in the ban phase here from Utah because, again, Dapper Dave is their guy. What else is interesting is the jungle pool stayed completely away from those big three that you and I talk about a lot with the Jarvan, Zac, and Sejuani, but instead go straight for the Skarner, and then the answer is a Gragas? That seems really interesting to me. Looking down here on the bans, mid-snipe, ADC snipe.
Yep. Looking to ban out those pools. Kenya has a decent champion pool, but because they've already picked the Malzahar, they're banning out specific champions to stop what would have otherwise been bad matchups for the Malzahar. So I like these bans. They're going to pick an 80 carry so that they don't get any more of that pinch. There's going to be the Sivir coming through. I see a lack in damage for the early to mid game, in my opinion, so far for Colorado. The Karma's going to have to make up for the missing damage in lane from Sivir. Sivir will scale pretty well into the late game, especially if there's more frontline or just AoE that gets drafted here from Utah. But Utah's going to round out their composition with Cassiopeia in mid, with Swish is going to play a tank in the top lane. Yeah,
the Cassiopeia right now, just like you were talking about with Seraph's Embrace, Cassiopeia was already a tier builder, and now it's stronger, and now they just buffed all of those mid lane mage items. She gets 6. She can't build boots. Super strong right now. A fantastic pick. And especially against the Malzahar, so many ways to get the spell shield off and then follow it up with more damage. That's the way you play her, is you keep following it up. And then the Scion is seeing a lot of play right now. Super strong with the Comet Roar, the Slayer kind of build. I don't know about this Nasus pickup, though. It seems like it...
I like it. I like this Nasus pick. It's
Yeah?
really exciting to me because if I think about it, the kind of answer here to the Scion normally takes that Comet, right?
Yeah.
And his poke is going to come from his E. The Roar, where he just pushes a minion. Hopefully it hits you, deals a little bit of damage, but it slows you enough that the Comet's definitely hitting. You
Yeah.
can get poked down pretty easily by what is otherwise a tank, right? But what can happen is if you pick the Nasus into this, then you have that free lifesteal passive that you're just going to heal
right.
back up. No problems whatsoever. You just sit there and you stack in lane. You'll always scale just as much damage as tankiness could come out here from the Scion, so you remain relevant regardless of which way you build. You build full tank Nasus, you're still going to get those stacks. You're still going to deal damage while still being able to be that frontline threat. Now, the only worry here for Colorado in terms of the Nasus pick is, will it actually be able to contribute to team fights? Because there is not a member on University of Utah that does not have some sort of hard crowd control, extreme crowd control, and that's one of the worst feelings playing a melee, especially if you're wanting to auto-attack within a couple hundred range, that you have to be on top of them. And if you can't get to them, you can't deal your damage, you're stuck there, you're going to take damage, it's going to feel terrible.
Yeah, but then the answer is split push, right? The amount of stacking, and if he gets a Trinity Force on Ragnar, or rather on the Nasus, he's going to be destroying turrets.
Oh, yes.
And if he gets demolished in the resolve tree,
Oh,
that's going to be the answer. So while the entire Utah squad is out pushing, fighting somewhere else, as long as Colorado can stay relatively healthy, peel, use that Gragas ultimate to disengage, use Karma to speed up your whole team and everything like that, then Ragnar can be that non-interactive, just destroy turrets on the side lane champion that he seems to really like to play.
Yep, I'm excited to see how these teams will play to their strengths and hopefully avoid their weaknesses. I would say Utah's weaknesses are definitely towards that mid to top side of the map early on. Just really immobile champions, really susceptible to ganks. The Flash Body Slam Gragas is one of the greatest early game ganks you can have out there. It's unavoidable other than using your summoner spell, right? So unless you're ready instantly to answer with your flash, or you flash already, then you're going to miss, right? You're going to miss your opportunity to avoid that gank. Just looking at the portraits here, you can see kind of what both of these teams have decided to bring out. Because when you think about that mid lane 2v2, by 2v2 I mean the mid lane champions and the junglers showing up, regardless of which one starts that fight, it's probably going to be Cassiopeia either living through and winning, right? And by that I mean she doesn't die. If she doesn't die, she's going to kill both of you.
Yes.
Right? Short of that, then the outcome has to be the opposite. That if Cassiopeia is done, there's nothing for a Skarner to do in that 2v2, or now a 1v2. But if Cassiopeia lives, even if Skarner dies very early, I think if the damage comes out, the CC is there, then there's no reason why a Cassiopeia can't actually take that fight, right?
No, precisely. I think that is a wonderful point. And we talked about it, right? The Malzahar passive is going to be gone almost instantly. One miasma, boom, it's out. One spell off, boom, it's gone. Just, just to get it off, that really low cooldown, really low mana cost Twin Fang, boop, there goes your spell shield. And it's going to be really interesting. I like the pick into the Malzahar.
Yeah.
Unfortunate, though, for the Skarner pick, I think that because it was first, that's when they lock in the Malzahar that has the spell shield passive, and then Sivir, their other carry, spell shield. So really going to try and play on top of that. I want to see the Quicksilver Sashes and the Mikhail's Crucible coming out of Jin James as well, because getting grabbed by a Skarner will ruin your day. With the other crowd control they have, they can combo that super well.
Hard crowd control from all 5 members of Utah. I mean, those Mikhails, or if you're going to be building for yourself a QSS into your own Scimitar, that's really important for you. But here we are, on to Summoner's Rift. I'm Superman casting along Juhadre. This is a best of 3. Here's game 1. This is day 2 of our 3rd week of the Pacific Alliance of Collegiate Gamers. University of Utah versus University of Colorado Boulder. Summon in for that jungle. We got Akonda on the Gragas. We were just talking about that 2v2 that can happen mid lane. I like that you mentioned Miasma, Juhadre, because Miasma is that grounded capability, meaning you cannot body slam because you can't use that mobility spell. That can be a huge stopper in what you would hope to have happen if you're a Colorado fan here in a gank in mid lane or even just any sort of fight. You have to have that mobility on the Gragas to help you deal your damage. All of his damage is in that E and the W, if not the Q and ultimate. But the Q and ultimate are going to be those skill shots you have to land from range, essentially. And those are much easier to land if you can land your crowd control, all of which comes from the W and the E, which are melee, essentially, right? You have to get in right on top of people.
And on top of that, that's most of Colorado's engage. You can get the team speed up from Jin James with the ulted E and the ultimate from Dapper Dave, but other than that, it's the body slam from Akonda. And there it is. Spell Shield popped already. Just one little Twin Fang. It does grab aggro like they recently changed, but that's all right because played nice and safe. Kenya going to be just already ahead in the lane. I know that it's the first wave, whoop-de-doo, but no Spell Shield means easy ganks.
Yes, it does. And one of the main things, too, about mid lane with this matchup against Malzahar, if you force Malzahar to use his mana pool on poke, he can run very, very low in the mana pool for trying to push the wave. And if you're pushed into turret, it's even harder as Malzahar. Your Voidlings can mess it up. The Malefic Visions make it very difficult for you. Very good level 2 trade. Kind of goes equal, to be honest. The minion damage was enough for I Am Order to answer Kenya's aggression.
And I think that's going to be happening in the earlier levels just because Cassiopeia needs to scale, needs those items. But, you know, later on in the game when she does have 5 to the 4 or, you know, 6 to the 5 damage items, it's just going to be so much more in Cassiopeia's favor. And I think it's going to continue to be that way just because of the nature of the champion itself. And then Swish getting a nice big knock up there on everything. Comet even.
Yeah, you can imagine that lane will look like that continuously. The worry here for Colorado on the top end of the map is, yes, Ragnar Sexy, he can play pretty passively, get those stacks, heal up, but the problem ends up being you have these massive waves that stack up at the turret, and while, yes, you're going to get your stacks, you're still going to remain relatively low with huge waves. And one thing that not many people are aware of is when you have a huge wave at your turret that's pushed in against you, yes, that's a lot for you to farm up, but if you decide to trade with someone diving you, you have to tank not only their damage, but the entire wave's damage as well. As you can see, Kraton's here in the top lane, going to start tanking it up already. This is looking pretty nasty. The Wither, that's got to feel so bad if you're Kraton, essentially gifting over double buffs to a Nasus who now
is already losing.
Yeah, now the Nasus is going to be able to get bonus regen from when he's out of combat. Bonus regen from the red buff. Bonus damage if he decides to trade, and the blue buff will give him more of that mana regen and cooldown reduction for him to continuously get those Qs. You can see that plus 110 came from the Kleptomancy. He got a money bag, but the fights down here in the bottom lane are really potent versus the Flash.
Ulted Q to help disengage Dapper Dave, gonna try and kite back to give Jin James a chance. Feathers are pulled, but no root. There's the jump in from Akonda. James is now in trouble. He's going to try and kill Jin James. No root, but he does flash away. There's the jump in for Toast to try and save him, given the shield. Dapper Dave needs to flash now because Kraton is here. Nice gank. A lot of summoner spells blown here. We see heal, flash, exhaust, heal, flash, ignite. All burned.
So there's still going to be flash for Toast, which I think is really important as that lane develops, because having the flash on your support allows you to still play relatively aggressive as the AD carry when you have vision and you know that you can't get ganked, because then you can play the lane to the aggression that your support sets up. We talked about how James kind of relies on that from his support to set up the plays. Having the flash there on Toast allows him to set up plays for James to follow up on. If that's not there, you run into more trouble where you have no pressure, you get pushed in, and that allows Akonda to do whatever he likes on the entire map when you know that now top lane is going to be quiet for the next while. Swish can't really pressure that much when there was that free first blood kind of gifted over to Ragnar the Sexy.
Yeah, and then interesting pick here. If you're going to play Nasus into Scion, you're not going to get a whole lot of opportunities to go in. But speaking of opportunities to go in, James, with a great initiation from Toast, does get the kill onto Jin James. Now they get the stun onto Akanda. He is chilling Smitten, and one more auto attack ought to do a double kill for James here in the bot side.
Nice. Good choice there. A little bit too much of a bait there from Jin James. He doesn't have his own summoner spells, and he's only level 4, so there's not going to be a ton of shielding power when he walks in there. Does get CC'd, and he dies in pretty much the duration of that knockup, right? And then there's going to be the try for the counter gank, but it doesn't really do much for him. In fact, it gives Silver another kill. That's going to give a lot of a cushion in that lead for James to be able to scale towards that late game. That's what Xayah's really good at doing. You know, I want to say the Sivir can somewhat keep up. In terms of damage, she's not going to meet it, but in terms of safety, she's got it down. The spell shield plus the mobility, move speed, essentially, that Sivir can bring does a lot for you. And for this frontline melee get on top of your composition, the Mantra shield capability on top of the Sivir ult means before you know it, their entire team is on top of you. If you're University of Utah, Colorado can just run at you so fast.
Yeah. I was going to talk about the Kleptomancy in the top lane. When you know you're going to be fighting Scion, you're not going to really get close enough to get a whole lot of procs. We can see he's, I think, maybe had one chance to get the... He did get a money bag, so, you know, good luck on that. But it seems odd to me to... It is a good pick on the Nasus because that is your goal, right? You want to get those Qs, and so it makes sense. But I don't know if it was quite the right spell to pick, the right keystone to pick in this particular matchup.
Not a lot of better ones. If you're going to go like Grasp or something like that on the Nasus, then you're kind of in the same position. But we see an ult down mid lane.
He does block the spell shield. And that actually opens up for amazing things. Kraydon doesn't have flash right now, but Kenya still does. With the spell shield down, that means great engage opportunities with that petrifying gaze.
Speaking of Kraydon, he's down here in the bottom lane. No vision in that brush, but the river, as soon as he steps out, should be able to get spot out. But you mentioned he has level 6. No flash, so he can't get right on top of them, but he's here. And he's got red buff, too. You can imagine if he gets on top of someone that they're going to die.
And we might be waiting here to see level 6 come out of Toast before the full engage because he does not have... Oh,
whoa!
I like James just dominates Jin James. Dapper Dave is there. He is hunted with the Predator from Kraydon, but that damage was silly.
Oh, man. That was so much damage to just get instantly bursted in the duration of that grand entrance. It's crazy to see that level of... like melting at only 8.5 minutes. It's just the BF sword plus longsword. Doran's gives a little bit AD, but normally we don't mention that. It's just BF sword damage plus longsword essentially doing enough. The W giving a bonus attack speed and non-hit damage to the Rakan as well as can do so much in those 2v2 trades. You can see Jin James, that's a squishy champion. The Karma there, yes, you have a lot of shields and they can make a huge difference later on, but this early, you are just a squishy dude, and you've seen him now get popped twice very quickly.
Well, and it's going to be even worse the further we go along. And got the Caulfield Ward's... Caulfield's Warhammer. Going to have the cooldown reduction, the extra AD building right into that Essence Reaver. Going to just deal so much damage. James already 3-0. We're only 9 minutes into this game. And he's just dominating this bottom lane, not giving Dapper Dave a chance to do what we know he can do.
Yep, and it's going to be a pretty good base timer for bottom lane. They're looking to try and answer those items that are in the inventory here. Luckily, there hasn't been too much of a fall behind in total CS here for Dapper Dave versus James in that matchup. It's only about a couple of waves. It's really those 3 kills that are making that huge difference. You can see... I'm not quite sure if he's building straight for like a GA with the cloth armor that's in that build, or if he plans to go Ninja Tabi. I don't imagine it's Ninja Tabi. There's only 2 auto attackers really on Colorado's side, though it would
make great trades.
It would make for great trades in the 2v2, and it would make for a lot more survivability against Ragnar later on. But at this point, why would you ever even let Nasus touch you if you can just melt him 100 to 0 like you're doing to everyone else? I'm not sure where that cloth armor will go. We'll see as the game goes on. But you can see the zoning potential of this bottom lane comes from the base timer that did come through. I did say it's a good one because you're trying to get back and answer with items so that you can not completely flummox your 2v2 trades like have happened recently, mostly due to Jin James just getting caught. But what you trade off is when you leave and you haven't shoved into the turret, your opponents can just freeze the lane, and that's what's been happening at the bottom lane. As you can see, what was just a 2-wave lead has now gotten up to close to 30 minions.
I think the cloth armor is just an early game insurance. I don't know that it's going to build into anything early. Just, I think they want the trades. Here comes the jump with the ultimate from Rakan there. Jin James does not get hit with the root. He is still in there. The teleport coming now from Ragnar is there. It isn't the one that shows up, though. I Am Order gets suppressed. He's going to take a lot of damage. He has to flash away. Knock up there from the Grand Entrance. A couple of feathers are there. Now the suppression down onto Skarner. He's the wrong target, buddy. Kraydon does get the kill onto I Am Order. The ultimate from Akanda knocks James in. He doesn't have any summoner spells or his ultimate. He gets shielded by Toast. Flash forward from the Gragas does pick up a kill. Akanda getting that one. Dapper Dave is now on the heels of Kraydon. He flashes because it just came up. Gets a nice slow from the E, but now they need to be really careful. Cassiopeia is in the wings, ready there. Now the ultimate from Swish. Dapper Dave gets super low. Kenya flashing forward. Here comes the ultimate out of Sion. He's gonna hit no one, but Kraydon does get the kill onto Dapper Dave. Jin James now goes down. Anaconda, wow, Akanda rather, is gonna get slowed and hit here. Swish not able to land that minion, but now they can proxy and they can probably take first turret off of this.
They probably can. Man, a little messy from both these teams. You saw Utah kind of getting caught with the nice teleports that were coming through here from Colorado from both Ragnar and I Am Order. Ragnar cancels his because he thinks it's a bad engage, but Order doesn't actually, and he was behind them, so he's kind of in a really bad position when he got in there, but it ended up kind of working out for them for a little bit there until Kenya with a nice roam turns things around at the very edge of that fight. Swish shows up too with his teleport, and now when you have that kind of a numbers advantage because you know who can show up, you end up taking not only a couple extra kills, but the turret, as you mentioned, to boot.
Very good play there from Utah to come back from what was indeed them going to lose that fight with, you know, James going so far forward, having used his ult to engage initially, and then needing to use both of his summoner spells really early on in the fight. It was devastating when Gragas showed up. Does pick up the kill, now 3-1, but that Essence Reaver is finished, and they're about to take the top lane turret too. Just so much power out of this bot lane right now for the Utes. It's devastating, the Buffaloes here from Colorado.
Yep, and you can see the 2v2 pressure in the top is now here in the top lane, and it is really extreme. You can see now that 30+ CS lead is still there, plus the 3 kills and an assist for James. There's just the 1 assist for Dapper Dave. The 80 carry difference is ballooning before our eyes. Luckily, it's kind of being matched a little, at least in terms of CS, for Colorado in the mid lane, and you want to see that because the main damage threat here, if not your primary, like far and above damage threat, is going to be that Malzahar. He has to be the one to stop the engage. You can see QSS has already been purchased. This is before a full AP item has been completed. Then QSS has already been completed on Kenya. You imagine it's coming soon for James. If he's already completed the Ninja Tabi, then now he needs that magic resist if he wants extra resists. And you know that he's going to be a main target if he's in range for I Am Order to hit that Nether Grasp.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that the Quicksilver Sash is important not just for the Nether Grasp, but for all of the other just ganks in general, because a lot of the damage coming out of Colorado is in the Malzahar, like you mentioned, but then you also have Akanda, who's going to be dealing a lot. Here comes the Grand Entrance. He gets rooted underneath the turret. He gets the charm and the jump out onto Zaya, and James gets another kill onto Jin James. And now the engage is here. Akanda and Ragnar are in the wings, ready to go, but they just dodge out on that Tri-Brush. And now this can turn into a 5v3 very quickly because Cassiopeia is down here, going to take out the control ward. Sion is on his way, and Malzahar is still farming in the mid lane.
Yeah, Ragnar 60 kind of in the front line. He does have a lot of health. and they don't have a wave to kind of pressure deeper underneath the turret. But you mentioned the numbers advantage is absolutely certain in their favor. You can see Karma just finally resurrecting, leaving the base on the way here, but that turret is really low.
I think
the health bars are kind of getting back up there. You saw Toast being about 3rd health, but now they might see a fight immediately here.
Ultimate from the Scion does get blocked by Dapper Dave, but in comes the Q. Flashes are burned. No engage here. The ultimate from Akanda does knock a few against the wall, and finally I Am Order shows up, but no one is going to go all the way in. I Am Order loses his passive, just going to get a silence down. Looks like that's it for the fight here in the top side, but turret to Utah.
The Akanda don't have any mana to continue that kind of engage, so they're just going to back off. And even if he did, want to follow up with his body slam, he just doesn't have either the mana or the miasma that he's sitting on top of will stop him from doing that. So nothing to really follow that with, even on his own, let alone with just, team behind him. Level 7, Jinjin James really far behind here. It's that full level behind the support. You can see he doesn't even have tier 2 boots to get into the positions he needs to, let alone out of the ones he keeps getting himself into in a bad way. So we'll have to see if the Karma change happens here. Jinjin James, known for playing Karma and playing him extremely well, I should say her, this champion. He's really good. He has amazing KDAs, win rates, and whatnot in his solo queue games, and duo queuing, I'm sure, with Dapper Dave from time to time. The problem ends up being...
But now we do see the engage, the ultimate and the grand entrance there onto Ragnar the Sexy. He ults, and he has that Spirit Visage instead of going straight for the Trinity Force. I think that was really wise because it saves him, gets a lot of hit points back on those auto attacks. Yeah. Nice defense from Ragnar.
Without even this siphoning strike, then I was seeing at the last auto attack he just used there, it was 24 health he got back instantly. And that's just from a regular auto attack with the Sheen proc. So it's like, really, if you can heal that much, why are you worried of a fight? You're not. You don't even have flash for that. They might try and fight you again, but you saw James get to half health in exchange for Ragnar's half health, and that's in a 1v2. You can see Gragas on the wings there. The worry is that through all of this back and forth, if you may, mostly in favor of Utah, the worry has been that top side was quiet. Really, really quiet. After that first blood was donated over, the worry being, has Ragnar the Sexy here on Nasus gotten too many stacks? That's always the worry. Whether it's solo queue or 5s, you worry. If there's a Nasus pick, how many stacks does he have? You always want to click on him and be like, where is he at? How's it working out? Does he have tank items? Is he full tank? Is he somewhat damage? What has he built? The Sheen for more CDR on top of the Visage to stay healthy with, that's going to be the Corrupting Potion to help him not only stay more healthy in lane, but more mana. You can imagine he'll probably go for Gauntlet, I assume, since there's so much physical damage that he's going to have to deal with no matter what, but this is a fight. And
now Gragas is suppressed, brought back into the team, is instantly killed. There's a knock up there from the Rakan, but he is killed with the help of I Am Order. A root there, flash forward from James. He gets the kill onto the Sivir. Airborne. Ragnar has no ultimate. He does have flash, but he gets killed for the 3rd kill for James here, just wrecking everything in these fights on the Xayah, dealing so much damage. University of Utah comes ahead in that fight, only losing 1.
Yeah, it's a pretty good fight. They do net themselves the turret out of it. That's a good trade. You'll trade a life if you have to, right? You'd prefer not to, but you'll trade any life, especially your support's life. Oh, the silence!
And there's the shutdown. Jinjin James gonna get a decent amount of gold in his pockets for that.
That feels bad.
It feels so bad.
if you're I Am Order, you're actually kind of sad that happened the way it did. Jinjin James 1-4 now. That means his gold resets. And he's already getting caught so many times and so far behind, he's easy to kill very quickly. Hard to survive these fights. And if I Am Order is your strongest member, you want to make him even stronger. You want him to be able to deal the damage and scale as well as the other team is doing when they're so far ahead. So it feels really bad to have not only the kill, but the shutdown kill go to essentially your all but feeding support. I don't want to flame too hard, but when you're 0-4 and then you steal the shutdown gold that's all but guaranteed, no summoner spells in James. He's kind of just recalling. He had 200 health. That's a stolen kill. It's a KS for sure. And not in the solo queue, hey, why you KS me? It's like,
No,
you
that
don't need
was
to
legit.
actually assist that kill. Even the shield, which is good, because then you're splitting, you know, you actually have an assist pool. It's bonus gold for your team. But there's no reason for you to add to the damage there when your Malzahar's right there with that much damage. It's just kind of insane to me to think. As a support player, it feels like, ooh, I don't know. It feels like a huge sin. Right?
Toast. Oh, he manages to dodge out. That is the ultimate from Dapper Dave. It's going to be a 1v3. But there's the teleport coming in from Swish. Ooh. The ultimate from James makes the kill happen. Knock up onto Akanda. Now Jinjin James is rooted. Akanda gets hit. He knocks up Swish. But then the Righteous Glory gets the slow. He donates the kill over to James. That's where it needs to go. The carriers are there, and now they're going to go right onto the Baron because Akanda is dead. No smite to contest.
Yeah, it looks like they're just going to start up this immediate 20-minute Baron. If they can get this, they might be able to just close this game out within the duration of the buff.
It's really, really strong. Right there, Baron Nashor killed 46 seconds after it spawns. Sion ults into the mid lane to try and stop anything else. I Am Order is going to be running away, but Swish wants it. He wants the fight. His whole team is going to meet him on the bottom side. They're going straight through the river there. They finally lose the bot side turret. Ragnar doing what we were talking about. He's just going to be splitting. Non-interactive play on the Nasus. And meanwhile, Jinjin James is not playing PvE. He's playing PvPs.
The gray screen simulator, as we all like to say. There, Jinjin James, now with his 6th death. Feels so bad. I mean, especially when you're playing your favorite champion, essentially, or at least your most played champion. Feels really, really bad to die over and over and over again and not feel like you're performing in the way that you're used to, right? In the way that you normally do when you're playing 5s. It's very different from solo queue.
And now the ultimate does go down. That Baron buff doing a lot of good. I don't think Akanda wants to keep going here, but he just keeps going in. They do not engage, and they just get a little bit of vision on their way out. The Utes are very far ahead right now. It's looking really good for them.
It's kind of actually surprising to me to see that with a Baron, with the kill lead that they do have, that somehow it's only like a 7,000 gold lead. That's a lot of gold, but I would expect to be closer to the 10K mark when you have a 9-2 Xayah, and you would imagine that you're winning every lane, but based on the kill score and just like turrets taken. But it's been the rotations, and honestly, farm is down for both solo laners. From Utah, they're losing in that way to the Colorado players doing really well, keeping up in farm, keeping ahead in farm. Plus 50 here for I Am Order on the Malzahar, the one looking to carry his team through this, hopefully bringing them to the late game, hoping to stall this out and not get the base broken open. You can see the Baron buff more than halfway gone, only about a minute left on it, and that's all the time that Utah has here with the extra bonus health and resist on these minions to try and break that base. Looks like they're not going to go for it. They're actually going to back off, get the nice recalls with those empowered recalls, set up for that dragon in 25 seconds, clear out the vision, set it up for themselves, grab one more elemental. They might be looking for Elder if they push it for another 10 minutes. I hope that if you're a University of Utah fan, what you're looking for here is not for an Elder. You don't want it to last that long. You want the game to end within the next, say, 5 minutes. You'd like to see the base broken at least. Ooh.
Swish goes in with the Righteous Glory. He gets knocked up by Akanda, but Toast gets the knock up onto him. The ultimate from Akanda does nothing. It is used. Dapper Dave has his ult too and is out of mana. That's a whole lot of nothing traded for a whole lot of somethings, and that's a free Infernal.
Couple of flashes for essentially just that Righteous Glory, which will be back up in just a moment.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, right? Meanwhile, down near the bottom side, that's an Infernal Dragon, which will help these massive scaling champions, the Cassiopeia particularly. Xayah, of course, will do a lot from it. Now they both have Quicksilver Sash, so they'll not be threatened as much by I Am Order here with the Nether Grasp. That ultimate spell so strong in locking down some key member. If they don't have that item in their inventory.
So Baron buff is now done. The miasma goes down so that Akonda cannot make the full engage. And they've still got inside track on the... Oh, but he flashes forward straight into another grasp. He does pop his own little stopwatch there, and they get the turret, and Colorado has to run away. Nice play there, baiting in the ult by Toast.
You know, I want to say, I am Order with the reaction timing there. You saw Toast putting his own reaction timing on show in that top lane gank that he almost got picked off in a semi-face check in that river tri-brush area. He turns that around with the teleport from his team, but his reaction timing to use his grand entrance to escape from that was so quick and immediate, but you can see I Am Order ready to do the same in reverse, where Toast looks to flash in and get an initiation, but immediately flashing forward, I Am Order says, no thank you, stop in your tracks, and because there's no QSS on Toast here on the Rakan, then he's able to get stopped right in his tracks, and almost ends up going down. If it were not for that stopwatch, you imagine he might have been able to get taken out.
Yeah, for sure. And now, because of support itemization, he has sold it and instead has a little bit of magic resistance now. I think that's really smart.
Might be building the QSS himself.
Honestly, I hope he is, and in addition to it, I hope he gets the... You know what? I would rather see just the solo Mikhails. I think that because...
You can't use it on yourself, and it doesn't work on suppress.
Yeah, okay, that's fair.
The only thing it
you
would
can't
really...
Mikhails yourself anymore?
You can only Mikhails yourself out of, like, non-hard crowd control, like non-stuns, right? So if you're rooted or slowed, you can use it on yourself. But if you're silenced, or you're suppressed, or you're... like stunned or something like that, then you can't use it. So think if you're someone and you have this button that you could press, can you press it, yay or nay? Then you can use it. But if you're stunned, meaning you can't do anything, or if you're suppressed, meaning you can't do anything, then you can't use it on yourself.
Akonda dodges out the miasma and gets a nice attack here onto Kenya, but that Seraph shield was huge. Whoa! Charm into the knockup onto Dapper Dave, and now two members of Colorado go down instantly while the top laners are just playing around on the bot side. This is going to be probably another turret for the University of Utah. Their wave is already there. But there's the teleport going to come out of Nasus, but he's going to get knocked up, interrupted by the Scion. His ult is still available too if he wants to continue the fight. I Am Order taking some chunks from Kenya, but there it is. The turret goes down in the mid side. They might go for the engage. Flash forward from James. I Am Order gets the Seraph shield, but James dodges out the last bits of the karma damage. Toast gets Jin James, and Utah is just destroying this base here in the middle side.
Ignite gets that kill credit. That's going to be pretty good. Toast is going to feel great about that. They break up the base, take a few members with them. They're going to reset, looking for the new Baron buff. Now spawning in 30 seconds. It's going to be their second of the game. Only 28 minutes in, approaching that mark. You can see how quickly they've been able to take these neutral objectives and open the base. Now that they've hit that 10K gold mark for their gold lead, you'll imagine they just will take whatever fight they can. Spamming those emotes to get that free base timer.
I love
it. There you go. Nice interaction there between those two champions. The Lover's Lane in the bottom lane. Xayah and Rakan, the only champions that can do that kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Hold each other's recall, set it up, and then you just join at the last second. It feels really great as an AD carry. You know, you can farm that extra wave.
I am loving the kill participation on James and Toast. Look at that.
Yeah.
17 out of 18 for Toast. 16 out of 18 for James. And the only reason he's only one down is because he ended up dying that one fight down on the bottom side before everything got started. But speaking of getting started, that's an ultimate onto Swish on the tankiest member. Then the cask goes in onto Kraton. He gets the suppression onto Akonda, but now we need to see the University of Utah back out. A perfect ultimate from Cassiopeia gets the route onto Ragnar and Akonda, but now Toast is in a little too far. They are running away. They're low on hit points. Utah loses one, but still managed to do decently well in the fight afterward.
Hey, man, I'd call that a success for Colorado. Yes, their health bars are blinking, and it's hard for them to contest a Baron here, but nobody dies for Colorado, and they get the kill, turn that around, and, okay, we'll have a pause here. I'm not sure what for. It might be a DC or something, but I like the choice. Colorado, they hit their go button, and they have so many of them, right?
Yeah.
They have that run at you immediately when we decide we can. The unfortunate thing thus far has been we can't. But now that they saw, Xayah's not with them. They don't have an extra member because he's bottom lane. Why don't we try?
Yeah.
And at that point, why don't you? You're down 10K. You need to do something. You can't just wait for the game to end on you. So I like that they went for it. And they did get rewarded with a kill. And they got the health bars low enough that I think this is a risky kind of Baron if Utah goes for it. They're setting up for it. We just got a short pause. We'll get back into it as soon as we get word. But it's a risky Baron at this point. So all of that combined, definitely a win here of that small proportion.
Especially because they burned the Petrifying Gaze. That's gone.
Yep.
And so, you know, if they do try and run in and stop it, the most you can do is use the Scion ult to try and knock him up and stop it there. I believe James, no, he used his inside the base, so the Feather Storm is still available, but...
No Petrifying Gaze. And then it was during the duration of Skarner Ultimate that he died.
Yeah.
So no Skarner Ultimate because he's dead anyway, even if he had it back up. You have Feather Storm, you don't have Petrifying Gaze, and you don't actually have the Scion Ultimate, I believe, if I remember correctly, that he did.
Oh, is it still on cooldown from when he...
It might be back up
Well, he interrupted
soon.
the cooldown with the Q on that
bottom
last
line.
fight, but yeah, I think it's
so you
still
should have-
available.
if he didn't use it in that last little skirmish there, and I didn't notice for sure one way or the other, he was in the mix, but he might have been there from the beginning. So, but for sure, no Petrifying Gaze, no grand entrance into the quickness, which is very important because that's how most of that gets set up. The Scion can't really set up his own stuff because people can just, you know, split up.
Yeah.
And that's a good thing to split up the fights. If you're Utah, you kind of want more skirmishy looks than the straight 5-on-5. With your gold lead, doesn't really matter, but you like splitting up those fights, but that's all Scion can really do. Pauses end now. We're going to get back onto the map. Baron has been started up. You can see University of Utah's almost got to finish. It's out of vision because of that control ward. They're going to be able to secure it. That's their second Baron, now bringing that gold lead to 11K. 10K, excuse me. It was looking close to that 11K mark. But they should be able to secure it now. The third elemental and look to push, probably, I would say bottom lane is the best place for them to go. They're going to be close enough to it anyway, looking for that. I am Order looking to maybe 100 to 0 whomever face checks or looks to get vision in this river. But now he's going to get spotted out by that ward.
Yeah, there it is. And now I Am Order is going to find Kraydon. I like Kraydon's build here. He went for the Cinder Hulk, he went for the Righteous Glory, and then immediately followed it up with that Adaptive Helm. That's going to do a lot in terms of the Malzahar damage, because that's what got him last time. The Malefic Visions and the Ultimate going to be doing continuous damage, and it's going to be reduced every second it's on. So now it looks like Colorado has the vision set up for this Drake. Utah just does it so quickly with Zaya having 4 completed items.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
That crit. If I'm not mistaken, that's 100% crit chance that's been completed now. And that's just an insane amount. You're sitting at nothing but crits, and the feathers on their way back can crit, right? Don't forget that.
There you go.
On their way out and on their way back in, you're just going to melt someone down. The blue gets stolen away, which is a small win.
Ults away, and that's safety there. Baron buff now going to be in the 2 lanes that do not have an inhibitor. It looks like Utah wants to get this over with. Ooh, but a lot of burst damage there, stopping a big chunk of the wave. James just deals so much damage, and if Colorado get a little too close, Kenya has that Petrifying Gaze back up. Heals are available, flashes are available. Scion is in the middle of the base instead of pushing a lane here. Let's see if he gets caught. Nope, just doing a nice diversion. All that damage, shredding the turret. But now the ultimates are going to come out. That's the fight. The quickness is in. Scion is super low, but he is also very, very tanky. Ragnar going to be the first focus here. Akanda trying to get the knock-up. Toast makes him flash away from the grand entrance. They get the inhibitor. I want to see them back out now. Ragnar the Sexy wants to stop them. Akanda gets crit in the face. James stops that further engage, and that's an inhibitor.
You know, that's really, really worrisome. As an analyst watching that's really worrisome if you're a fan of Utah and you want this game to end right here, right now. If they can't win a 5v5 after taking the turret, there's no real threat of the turret there, you wonder, when can they win a 5v5? There was no real rhyme or reason to that fight for Utah, and it was actually pretty close. 10K gold, you should be winning these handily like this.
And there is the first kill. I Am Order is low, as is Jin James, but the ultimate underneath the turret. And James does go down again. That means Akonda can run in. Dapper Dave able to deal all his damage now. And, you know, you were exactly right. They lost that fight.
Ooh.
Underneath the turret. They get Ragnar, but then they lose James.
Yeah,
That seems like a worthy trade if you're Colorado. Akonda being a little cocky here, just wanting that pillar, but he does it inside a vision of a control ward.
no real neutral objectives on the map to take, so Colorado can't really get anything off of that small win. Of course, they lost the entire bottom side. Their mid lane inhibitor has respawned, but they almost lost top side turret. Lucky for them that James played really confidently forward, too confidently, in fact, without his QSS. Gets ulted underneath the turret, and that'll be him getting shut down. So Colorado may be looking to get back in this. We're now 33 minutes into our first game of this match. It's going to be a best of 3, so regardless of which way this game goes, and it looks to be going the way of Utah, we'll be going to a game 2 shortly thereafter. There's the ult. They're looking to catch Swish while there's nothing else going on the map.
But that ultimate makes him completely unstoppable.
Didn't see that coming.
Yeah, right. The good use of that there. Something charge, right? Onslaught.
Something onslaught.
Yeah, something onslaught.
So, I mean, at that point, if you're going to use all of your spells to get into position to try and catch him out, you need to recognize he's just going to press R and leave you. Somebody needs to stand in front of him. I think Jin James too scared to do that because he's just so squishy. He might
get killed.
Do you get 100 to 0'd by a Scion at this point? It's kind of really, really scary. But you can see the damage coming from Ion Order onto their tank is actually nothing to scoff at. You see that he still has 2k health, but that's a lot down off of your front lane member.
The ultimate from Skarner does go in, but suddenly Dapper Dave is killed by James. Never mind, he gets Akonda as well. Ragnar the Sexy goes down to Cassiopeia. Kenya picking up his kill there in the mid lane. They take down the inhibitor. They've got minions in the bottom and the mid side. They're going in onto the Nexus turrets. The flash forward from Kenya to try and kill Jin James. Unstoppable. Swish's ult is back up already. They are going to take down this turret. I want to see them just win the game. No need to kill anybody else, but there's the ultimate onto Toast. Toast gets out. Kraton flashes forward to try and get the stun, but they're just going to focus their attacks here on the Nexus. That is going to be one more kill for James.
That kind of damage is just so crazy. The Nexus is going to fall 23-6 overall. That's going to be a 34.5-minute win going to University of Utah. Really clean near the mid-game there. I want to see the end is kind of looking scary for them. They didn't really win those fights as convincingly as I think they should have when you have that massive of a gold lead. It did end as a 13.5 or so thousand gold lead. When it's that much gold, you need to smash team fights. They need to look laughable. You need to be looking like you're farming cannon minions, right? Like that's about how it has to look for you, especially when you did the right thing, like the safe, very methodical thing in terms of your build paths where even your support has a QSS.
Yeah.
At that point, there's no excuse for not smashing team fights.
I think the only reason they didn't is because Nasus got so huge. Like, he was super tanky. And so if you go in there, his ult doesn't just give him hit points and deal damage over time. It takes away attack damage. So if James is too close, if Scion is too close, those auto attacks are going to become less and less effective. And especially diving underneath the turret where Gragas is there, I think that you're right. I think they should have been able to do a lot more, but it was also really risky with just how durable that Nasus and the Gragas combo really were.
From my eyes, what it looked like was Toast kind of got ahead of himself, awkwardly missed a few of his combos to engage on some of those fights. Finally, that very last fight in the middle, he landed it, and you saw. Then they just smash it, right? There's no questions asked anymore because you mentioned the Nasus. The Nasus right there, he's caught in the Grand Entrance, caught in the quickness. He's just knock up in a charm into whatever other CC you want to throw at this guy, and the crits will come through and he's going to die, right?
For sure.
And that was the success recipe for Utah. They just, they didn't throw the right ingredients together in the right way up until that very last team fight, I think, in the way that they needed to show what a 13,000 gold lead looks like, or should look like, I should say. But we'll see if they can clean that up for game 2, or if Colorado can feel that they can bounce back. And they seem to be doing pretty good despite that massive gold deficit here at the end of game 1. Game 2 coming your way in just a moment. We're going to take a quick break. PACG returns with more League of Legends action after the break.
evil inside. You're just looking way down below. And if I can't hold my breath, then I'm bound to become hollow. Can you say that I disappeared? Can you say that I wasn't there for you when you went into hiding on the front steps of your porch? And I reflected on the memories, but I put out that torch. Hey! But I put out that torch. But I put out that torch. You make me feel like home. You turn around, I feel the breeze over me. You watch your dreams unfold. Let it come around and let it breathe over me. It's time to go.
All right, welcome back, college esports fans. My name is Jake Superman Mori. I'm casting alongside Jihadre this evening, and we're casting for you a couple of matches of Collegiate League of Legends. This is the Pacific Alliance of Collegiate Gamers. Our first match this evening has been University of Colorado Boulder versus University of Utah. University of Utah took a convincing Game 1, 13,000 gold lead at the Final Nexus explosion there. We're going to get into Game 2 just a moment. We'll hop right into Champion Select just a few minutes before we do hop in. Let's talk about that first match and how it went.
So a lot of things that we talked about actually happened. The matchup in the bot lane where James, being the star player for the Utes, did get ahead. Got massively ahead even. I think he ended like 14 kills or something like that.
Beyond that, I think it was closer to like 15 or 16.
All right.
It was so many.
It was a
just
lot.
fed.
He got really fed, got the crits going all over the place. I think he even managed to finish his whole build, and he was just destroying everything. And that was what we expected to see, right? On the auto attacker in the Xayah, as opposed to something like the Ezreal, where he can just consistently throw out the auto attacks and deal all the damage. Something we didn't expect was Karma getting caught that many times.
Yeah, I mean, this is the classic champion for their support, right?
Yeah.
I mean, when Jinjin James is able to get Karma, we expect the same performance we saw in earlier weeks here on PACG, where he just owns the lane and keeps people alive in team fights when otherwise they shouldn't, and can carry his team from the support role in the support ways consistently. But instead of that kind of consistency, we saw consistency in a different way, which was him getting caught out time and again and again and again. And, I mean, to be fair, you're against Xayah Rakan.
Yeah.
If you get caught, you are dead. I don't care if you have Flash, Heal, and Exhaust, and Tom Kench, because he probably dies too in that kind of, like, if you're 80 carry Karma and you have support Tom Kench, and you have Flash and Heal, and he has Flash Exhaust, you guys are both dead if one of you gets caught. Like, that's just the Xayah Rakan thing, especially when they're up in kills.
Yeah.
And you have crit chance up the wazoo, and a 100% crit chance Xayah. Late game, you get caught, you're dead no matter what. And in lane, it feels kind of that bad already simply because of the massive amount of damage that W can, at level 1 even, can do for that lover's lane.
Yeah, and, you know, Xayah and Sivir, the two 80 carries from the last game, have exact build paths. They share it. It's the Essence Reaver into the double static items into the Infinity Edge with a pair of boots. We saw Essence Reaver and Rapid Fire Cannon and level 2 boots in the Ninja Tabby and wards and almost a QSS when Sivir finished her Essence Reaver.
Yeah.
It was just the disparity in the bottom lane was obscene. And that's what we didn't expect, that large of a margin, but yeah, I mean that doesn't look good for Colorado right now. I think they need to they're going to adapt and ban either the Xayah or the Rakan. I don't know which one, but either one, will Utah have an answer with that?
We'll have to see how the changes in the draft happen. There will be more changes in just a moment. We'll get on your screen. Changes to the lineups for both these teams. Each of the teams going to bring in some subs this evening for Game 2. For Utah, swapping out in the mid lane, Soul Rush is going to take Kenya's spot, and Adam Josh coming back to that starting lineup, taking the place of Toast, despite Toast playing perfectly.
Oh, it was
Same
amazing.
thing with Kenya. Everybody playing well. They're just going to swap out some members. And then Colorado. Now, you don't see this updated quite yet because we're just getting word from Colorado, but they did tell us they were going to swap someone out. Akonda's going to be in the jungle. He might get swapped around. We're waiting to see. It looks like the sub will be 29A, who is from their A-tier roster.
Yeah.
Colorado, you saw him play
There it
against
is.
Utah on on Saturday's ULAL matchup, so he's going to come in and play for jungle. He's a very strong player. Seen amazing performances out of him, so that might make the difference for Colorado to come back here in Game 2.
Well, and especially you and I had the chance during the break to look up Akonda a little bit because we couldn't remember what we had seen before. He's actually an AD carry player.
Yep.
Subbing in on the jungle.
Yes.
And so now bringing 29A, the jungler, from, like you said, their A team, this might be exactly that huge change, because I think you could even tell, looking back on it, Gragas's engages were all very basic. There were no sneaky brush ganks. There were no perfectly timed ultimates with the knock-up. In LCS, they talk about it all the time. You can get an auto attack for maximum damage in between your body slam and your ult, but it gives you that tiny window of flash ability.
Yep.
So if you just body slam ult, no one's getting away. And so I think that subbing in 29A will be very, very good for Colorado.
Yeah, we'll have to see if it makes a huge difference for them. 29A, a jungler by trade, right? Whereas we mentioned, when you sub out a player that's even a master tier player, but is an AD carry by trade, that's an awkward role for him to play. It's not his main role, and so when you put a player on their off role, they normally play to at least a couple of divisions, if not a tier or so, below what their solo queue rank will be on what they're comfortable in. Like myself, for example, I like to think of myself as basically an Ezreal one-trick at my height of play, where I can play that to a very high level, playing AD carry, especially when Ezreal is very strong in the meta. At the beginning of Season 8, my favorite. I mean, I have an AD carry only account, a 1-800-carry-you, where back in Season 6, when Ezreal was really strong, I just spammed him, and it felt like I couldn't ever lose. But then you put me on some other AD carry, maybe the ones that I'm not as comfortable with, and I feel like I'm a couple tiers even below, just because I'm just not as comfortable. Other than playing Ezreal, I play supports, and I feel like, once again, if I'm off of my champion pool, those heal shields that I like to play, the Janna, the Lulu, the Karma, if you put me on like Thresh, I'm okay, but then you get me down there on like Alistar or something that just isn't my play style, and I'm like, I'm a complete loser. Like, I suck. I'm a bonobo. All I do is jump in like a monkey and I lose. Like,
did you say you're a bonobo?
Yeah.
What is that?
It's a type of monkey. Oh. Yeah. It's a specific monkey.
I mean,
you can Google it.
The more you know.
You really shouldn't. Please don't. I shouldn't have said that. Anyway, I just play really bad, and so you can't really you can't really hate on too much here. The jungle choice. When you swap out, we should see things better for 29A, better for Colorado all around. But generally speaking, I don't want to give too much flame to the Gragas pick,
no, not at
player,
all.
just because, generally speaking, when you're playing an off role, it's already bad enough. If you're playing your role and you don't have the champions you like, that's already going to feel bad, let alone putting yourself on champions you don't regularly play in a role you don't play.
Then let's move on to a different role in the top lane.
Yes.
We talked about Ragnar being more of the uninteractive type champions, like the Swish. Wow. Singed, I say.
He plays as the... I mean, he was playing Swish like a violin.
He really was
game.
a little bit. Being so ridiculous. Getting that first blood, free double buffs underneath the turret.
I was going to say it was Kraton versus Swish in the top lane.
Yeah, it was pretty...
With Ragnar just kind of playing support. So...
And... he did really well, but then when it came into the team fights, the Scion was 100 times more effective in getting the kills, getting the damage than the Nasus was. Nasus was decent at, being a front line when they had a turret and dissuading a lot of dives like we saw.
Yeah.
I really think that was the biggest reason Utah didn't just end the game on push number 1 with that Baron, because Nasus is just so massive. He was stacking all game. It was going to hurt to get hit by one Siphoning Strike, but then that's how you play against Nasus. Late game Nasus is just a body.
Yeah. I mean, we talked about it in Champions League, too. I mentioned this Nasus is so scary, and a scary Nasus is like, any scary dog in real life, where, I mean, I don't have any sort of phobia of dogs, but if you see like a big, massive dog barking and running at you, you're like, I'm dead. This is how everything ends. And honestly, that's how it happens in League of Legends. If the Doge has stacks and he runs you down, you just, like, you start recalling, right?
Yeah.
And you just pray.
Okay.
Or because he doesn't have any hard crowd control, if you're top laner, you just start spamming teleport to somewhere else, and you're like, please, please have mercy. But it just doesn't work like that. And as you mentioned, he ends up kind of just being a body in that late game if you have crowd control, which every single member, every champion that was drafted for Utah had some form of hard crowd control, meaning the Nasus isn't going anywhere, right? It's like a dog on a chain. He can't actually get at you. The bark is all he's got. He's got no bite.
Well, and that's actually the next point I really wanted to make. The amount of crowd control they had made it easy. Normally, in your solo queue games, you can't stack crowd control on a tank. You can't do that because then the carries are going to come and kill you. But in this game, you could. We saw several Skarner ultimates pulling in Gragas, who is a tank. We saw roots from the feathers onto tanks. We saw Cassiopeia ult onto tanks. But it was everywhere. There were so many different ways to stop everybody.
Yeah, I mean, when you're that far ahead and you have that much damage, you can just pull in whoever you want at that point. But here we are into Champion Select. There is a win on the board for Utah in Game 1. This is Game 2, Champion Select between University of Utah and Colorado, University of Colorado Boulder. Now, we do see the subs, of course. It's going to be Soul Rush in mid, and it is going to be Adam Josh on support. Oh, no, they did swap it back. It is going to be Toast. So Adam Josh not going to be playing there. So Toast is going to be playing support once again.
I'm interested because Soul Rush and Kenya have a different play style. Soul Rush is more of the longer range roaming type of mid laner, whereas Kenya is more of that team fighter like the Cassiopeia and the Victor we wanted to see, those kind of things. And so it'll be nice to see that difference in strategy in the draft here from Utah, starting out with the immediate Skarner ban. And then the same follow-up from Colorado, the Lulu Janna, just like they did last time. And then Orianna banned here again. These are looking really familiar.
I Am Order's entire match history has been nothing but Seraph's Embrace Orianna and good performances on it. So I like that ban. It came out last time as well, but I like giving it through on that first round each time.
Yeah, and then we did see the third ban. There is the Rakan. They don't want to deal with that again. That means 3 support bans against Toast here. Very interesting that they're going to do that, try and stop James. Zach being the third ban for Utah. And then the Sejuani lock-in for 29A. We talked about this on Saturday a lot.
Yeah, it is a really strong pick. It matches the Jarvan that's likely to come through as the last high-tier pick other than like Jax or Nunu or something like that. You mentioned Nunu might come through with Kraydon. He's comfortable playing that into other matchups, but the Sejuani, high-tier pick. No surprise that they picked that up. If not the Jarvan, one of those two was going to be the first pick because you don't want to get him stolen away. Whichever one you're more comfortable on for 29A, that's going to come through, especially because if you're subbing him in and he's from your A team, you want him to be as comfortable as possible if you're hoping he's going to carry you into a hopeful Game 3.
Well, and that's what I was bringing up is when we looked at his match history, he didn't play Sejuani at all. And so we've only seen him play it twice on in this exact matchup, though, Colorado versus Utah. So he's going to be playing the same, 4 out of the same 5 players here. And I wonder if he's been spamming that, practicing that more, because we know that Kraydon is really good with the Jarvan, doing a lot of good with the knockups and the cataclysms to set up the plays.
Okay, so they do lock in for James. The Xayah, once again, answered with the Jarvans. The next tier, it's definitely coming through. But I like this choice here for Dapper Dave. We've seen him play very dapper looking in that bottom lane. The Ezreal, one of his higher tier picks. I love seeing some Ezreal play. I'm an Ezreal main myself. And then, of course, the Karma. Jin James, not scared to pick it again. I like that choice You don't ever want to see someone saying, I'm shying away from my main champ just because I had one bad performance. You still want to pick your strongest and put your best foot forward, especially when match point is on the line.
And now this is actually going to be a lot better. The range for Ezreal is much longer than that of Sivir, so it's going to give both Dapper Dave and Jin James a bigger buffer so that they don't have to be nearly as close to James and Toast, especially with that lock-in right there. That Alistar, interesting.
All in.
It is all in, but again, it's at that longer range that Dapper Dave is going to have. So good choices there coming in, and we know just how well James meshes with Alistar type play. Let's see if Toast can put it up at the same level that we've seen it come from the Utes before.
Yeah, it's looking for similar type plays we saw in Game 1. The Rakan was banned out this time, so you don't have the same exact kind of engage, but very, very similar style, right? Straight into a knockup is what Alistar is going to do. The same thing that comes out from the Rakan. You just don't have the same level of ultimate. It keeps it keeps you in the fight as Alistar, but not going to be that extra level of crowd control that can come out from grand entrance into the quickness, banned out the Rakan. You're going to see similar playstyle, at least for laning phase, is going to play almost identically in terms of just like the 2v2 and how it looks in that bottom lane. But now the difference being, instead of a spell shield, you have Arcane Shift to create a little bit more distance. But you're looking at Jin James here. Hopefully he learned his lesson about playing too far forward as this very squishy Karma pick.
And now the mid lane bans are coming out. They don't want to fight the Malzahar anymore. And then answered on the side of Colorado, Soul Rush's famous Aurelion Sol. I think that's a really good ban. That is one of his favorite, one of his highest performing champions. Have we even seen it on stream? I think we saw it once, right?
We have? I don't recall.
Yeah, neither do I.
Which either means it didn't work out too well, or it just was so long ago that I just can't remember what happened. In casting so many games. But the Aurelion Sol, he has very high win rates, high KDAs in solo queue multiple seasons since Aurelion's release. So it's a good ban, as you mentioned. And they're banning out a lot of mid laners here. You see that Orianna was first round, and then Aurelion Sol, Ryze, those are mid laners. They're going to be gone. Now you can see picked the Corki blind. Then you get that answered with the Vigar. Last pick going to be here is going to be top lane. Can't imagine there's a Sejuani going top lane. So it's going to be top lane pick here. We'll see what Ragnar has up his sleeve this time. He's going to be picking blind this time. Instead of picking into the Scion, which has now been banned by Utah, he's going to be picking the dog. Once again, I like this choice. He did really well last game. Granted, he got a free donation of 400 gold and double buffs, so that's something to be said. We'll see what Toast decides to pick for his team. Swish has to answer this now that he has full knowledge of what he's playing into, both in jungle top lane. What is he going to pick?
It is an interesting question. This is not what I expected, though. The Rumble. I think that is going to... So, the biggest question when fighting Nasus is, can you stop him from stacking? The traditional answer is no. It doesn't matter who you are. He heals so much. He starts out with that corrupting potion. He's going to be getting the stacks. But I think of every champion in the game, Rumble would be the one to be able to stop it the longest. With that Flame Spitter, it's not a targeted spell, so you won't get minion aggro, but you are going to be shoving underneath the turret the entire time. So it might even, I don't know, it might make it better, it might make it worse, you know, make it harder for him to CS, but then at the same time, you're going to be underneath the turret trying to poke him, taking turret aggro, all these things. It's an interesting pick here.
That lane kind of plays out similarly in the 1v1 at the very least to the Scion, where you just kind of get your free poke while the Nasus tries to stack. You're going to shove in. It's about all you can do as Rumble. You have a lot of bit better of a 1v2 potential if things go your way, post level 6 especially, where you can try and be able to turn around a gank that could happen, especially if you have a stopwatch. I imagine you're going to have stopwatch because you're going to want to build an hourglass at some point. It's just such a strong item on the Rumble.
So now my question comes in. Rumble is a top laner, but he builds the ability power. What do you think the changes to Liandry's and all those other AP items are going to do to his build paths?
Oh, Liandry's just beautiful for him now because it gives you the health. You want that because you kind of have to play in semi-melee area. And the changes to adapting the percent max health damage to be essentially stronger, I just want to say, on Liandry is huge. The buffs to Rylai's make a huge difference for him too if he decides to go that build path, or if he goes straight AP, he has even more total AP with the death cap being 5% increase now to
That's
40%. And his build path will probably end up being, there hasn't been any changes to it, and you normally go for it either early first item or second item. It's going to be that proto belt. It gives you the CDR to help you get those ultimates there.
That's right. I forget about that one.
Reposition, CDR, health, extra damage, cooldown reduction. It's just a great all-around item for the Rumble. And then you can imagine the Death Cap and Leandry in whichever order you decide to go for, how fed you are, etc., how much health is being stacked so far, etc. You're going for those items. That's your core. Void Staff if there's too much magic resist. But generally speaking, I imagine you either are rushing Leandry, or if there's like a lot of health stacking here, a lot of health stacking. If there's magic resist, you're going for Proto Belt probably into Void Staff, or you wait for that Void Staff, and maybe you're not building Proto Belt if you just want flat AP and you're not looking to fight often. You're just looking to like shove and base, shove and base, shove and base, shove and roam. Because if you're shoving all the time and you're not looking to actually like trade, or you're not hoping to attract the jungler, you don't need the cooldown reduction to have your ultimate always up. You just need it up like every time your teleport is or something like that, which it's always going to be if you're only ever using it on a teleport play. So you can look to stack AP instead. Go Leandry into Void Staff, or Leandry into Death Cap if there's no MR, or even just Death Cap into Void Staff if you're crazy. Leandry's just so strong. That's going to be the core item. Whether first or second, you're going to see Leandry come through. That's the main item that has been changed that I imagine will come through. Most of the other changes have been to like mana AP items.
Yeah.
You're never going to see built.
And that's what I was trying to get at. I don't play many AP champions, so I forget about all of it. I read through all the changes, but I don't know what you build on Rumble because I don't play him.
There is something to be said of the changes to Morello, where now it's just a health magic pen Grievous Wounds item, which, if you think about just the 1v1, is extremely good for Rumble into the Nasus.
Yeah, the
Magic
Grievous
pen,
Wounds.
Magic pen, Grievous Wounds, health, and your just ability to, with bonus damage from the AP that's in that item, you're just going to shove, and while you're shoving and dealing damage to the Nasus, he's not going to stay as healthy. The downside to that is that's about all it helps you with.
Yeah.
You don't have massive health champions here on the other 4 parts of Colorado's lineup, and it's not going to do as much for you in team fights as, say, Leandry.
Yeah,
the
for
Proto
sure.
Belt, helping you reposition, helping you get the ultimates down, and doing the damage that you need to multiple members. Yes, Grievous Wounds can make a huge difference when it comes to like shield healing. If Karma rushes, say, like Redemption, or the classic Athene's Rush of like that more aggressive Karma build that's not focused on vision early, it's more focused on being like an aggressive Karma, that's okay, and you can maybe consider the Morello there, but honestly I think it's more of a tunnel choice. I don't think you go for the Morello despite it being really strong in the 1v1. You still try and build for your team. That's why you pick Rumble. He's a decent laner, but you really are focused far more on what you'd want out of the team fighting. So I don't even think you care too much about the CDR. If you want, if you're just used to kind of like a comfort choice to build that Proto Belt, you can. But I think Leandry is just so strong right now that that's what you want to go for.
So now the next thing I want to talk about, you and I, even Monday, we talked about naming one champion that scales better into the late game than Corki, and we have the only 2.
Yeah.
We hit both of them. So the later this game goes, it's better for Corki, but it's even better for Veigar and Nasus. They are just going to keep getting damage the longer this game goes. And so I wonder if Colorado is going to play a much more passive style, try and let that happen, because Ezreal is kind of in that same boat. You don't want to start really big fights until he's got his first Sheen item and the tier stacking up. So it might just be a whole lot of hurry up and wait, a lot of stalling here coming from Colorado, where I think Utah with the Xayah damage early like we saw last game and the J4 able to shred the armor with the Q, I think that they might be trying to go much more aggressive.
Yeah, I hope they are. You don't want to see Veigar scaling to hundreds and hundreds of AP essentially for free. Corki should be able to punish that a bit, but you're hoping, if you're a fan of Colorado, that they have the time. That they have the time to let I Am Order here scale up. The Malzahar does a lot similar, where you just want to farm, get to your core items, and then you're very good at melting bodies, right? And a lot faster as the Veigar than as the Malzahar. But generally speaking, you just want to scale, right? You want those items. You want to be strong.
So now, with the loss of the safety of Rakan's laning phase, we can see that Ezreal actually has a nice big push here. Double CS up on the Xayah, and that's really good for them, because if your later game comp is ahead early, then it's just going to spell good things. Kraydon is here. He does burn the flash for Ragnar. A great advantage there now for Swish.
Yeah, that's kind of necessary. If you get knocked up there, that's bad news. But Vigar's here with the Sejuani.
So now the EQ combo does come out. Kraydon gets out free, gets a decent knock-up. It doesn't... Nobody else burns anything else for that. So decent little trade here, but it's still double CS in favor of Dapper Dave on the bot side.
Yeah, I mean, this is good news for Colorado. Not only are you Kleptomancy Ezreal, but you're ahead in CS. Now, of course, there's a massive wave crashing at the turret. You're going to see those numbers equal out a little bit more. But generally speaking, if you're already ahead in CS and you're farming well the waves that you have in front of you, and you're Ezreal, and you can land, you see, Q after Q after Q, those Mystic shots are going to stack up not only gold, but you can see those consumables. The Biscuit's likely from his mastery, or excuse me, I should say runes, but you can see he just uses the ward. That gives him extra vision in lane, and now he gets an item that was removed from the game. It just disappeared because he consumed it, but you can see the blue glow around this Ezreal. That's going to be a mana push and help him poke even more in this lane and get even more gold from that Kleptomancy keystone.
And it was interesting that he didn't get the first proc on that. He got an auto attack on James before the game even started. But no Kleptomancy proc on that because it has to be after a spell.
Yep.
Kraydon is spotted on that ward that we saw, and that's why Ragnar wanted to go back. But I think that that's a really poor time. I don't think there is a really good timing unless Rumble goes back first, because of the way Rumble plays. You know, you're going to be he's going to be shoving that wave, so no matter what, stuff's going to be crashing underneath your turret.
When you get Sheen, when you have enough gold for that, then you just kind of want to back off and purchase that. Use your teleport to get back in. So he's going to see that. I believe it's right now. He has enough gold. He's going to get that Sheen, teleport back in while the wave hits his turret so that he doesn't miss any golden experience, but he has that extra mana, cooldown reduction. He'll be able to stack a lot better under turret. Oh, he goes for no magic. That's an interesting choice.
I think it's that stall tactic because Rumble is in your lane. He's going to be dealing all that magic damage. I think that he's just wanting to be able to sustain rather than try and fight anybody.
It's an interesting choice for sure. It's a different style. No real downside either way. Like, if you go the Sheen, you have the extra mana to stack underneath your turret. You don't have to worry so much about your mana consumption using your Q. But you have to worry about your health. Sometimes you're going to have to sacrifice stacking to be able to get your health back just by auto-attacking things. But if you build the no magic, then even though you don't have the extra cooldown reduction and mana to keep stacking, you remain a little bit tankier. You don't get so unhealthy so quickly. You can see a nice poke once again here. Down in the bottom lane, still get a decent CS advantage. It's going to grow from there, at least during this wave. And Dapper Dave feeling real comfy on the Ezreal.
Definitely. But then we have to look up at the top side. This is only 5 deficit on the bottom, but 10 up for Swish in the top lane. Last game, it was still really even, but now 29A thinks he might be able to get something, but the control ward stops that. Doing really well on this Rumble so far, keeping him pushed underneath the turret, affecting that CS. He's 12 ahead right now, doing really, really well as compared to last game.
Yeah, I like this from Swish. He seems really comfortable. He needs to keep that up. If he starts to feel uncomfortable in just that 1v1, that can spell disaster for Utah because there's not going to be pressure really on the top side without Rumble shoving in the Nasus. You could see Nasus, because he's got that extra sustain ability, then he's not scared to step forward when there's the possibility of a gank. But I like the choice by Swish to invest. I didn't see if it was Kraydon's ward, perhaps, but I think it was Swish's when he teleported back in. He brought a pink ward with him, that control ward that got cleared out by 29A. But you can imagine, if it wasn't there, Swish might have to lose his flash, might even lose his life. And first blood is still on the table. One of these teams can take it. The gold lead's actually kind of in favor of Colorado here with the CS lead in the bottom lane plus the Klepto.
Double Kleptomancy. Double Kleptomancy, top and mid, or wow, sorry, bottom side, both getting the extra gold. I don't actually, so he hasn't been able to proc it on Swish yet, I don't think. Nothing special in his inventory in terms of Ragnar. So Rush gonna dodge out the baby cage there, the Event Horizon not gonna lock him up. Keeping CS really as close as they can here are James and Toast. Really close here. Only about 10 in yeah, exactly 10 there in favor of Dapper Dave. Doing really well. Soul Rush now is inside that baby cage. He's going to take a little bit of minion aggro. Going to shoot a couple of spells. Make the trade relatively even there. Nice work.
Now the CS lead in the top lane is now making a difference, though.
Yeah.
You can see that even though there's the small CS lead on the bottom lane for the Ezreal plus the Kleptomancy, should be making a difference. But with the gold actually in favor of Utah, the story's different. It's a small CS lead in the mid lane, doesn't make the huge difference, but that massive lead in the top lane, 3 waves and then some in favor of Swish over Ragnar. You hope that the stacks have at least been coming through, because if those aren't there, the gold isn't either, and that's worrisome for this top lane matchup.
Absolutely. And now it looks like he did manage to get a decent back timer. It does have the beginnings of that Spirit Visage, just like last game. And now that, because of the pressure he has up there, we know Sejuani's there, but I don't think the Utes know. Either way, they're on this Drake because they've shoved the bot lane. But now Swish is in a compromised position. 29A gonna get the permafrost on him. Swish is stunned again. He does drop the equalizer, puts up the scrap shield, dealing so much damage to Ragnar. He has to flash. And in comes the package. Ragnar goes down. First blood over to Soul Rush. He jumps forward with the Valkyrie, but a nice Arctic Assault does get 29A out. Perfect use of the package there, securing first blood for the Utah team.
And that's the difference between going Sheen versus that tanky build, is you don't have that bonus damage. If you're going to have so much crowd control coming from your jungle, then if you're going to gank that lane, 29A should know better. He should know that if you're going to show up and try and gank a Rumble, let alone underneath the turret, the Rumble, right, that you're going to take that equalizer really close to the face.
Oh, the Primordial Burst almost taking out Soul Rush, forcing the flash there. I am Order so close to losing that fight.
Yeah, you can imagine if he had a combat summoner that's just about as certain to kill as you can get, but he has no health. Rest in pepperonis.
That auto attack buffer, he manages to flash the Cataclysm, but the auto attack with the bonus damage from Jarvan does enough there. Very well done. Nice timing. He didn't even have to flash for it.
Yeah, Kratos still had his. Order likely going to teleport back to lane. Unfortunate that he didn't net himself a kill there and actually lost his life for it all. But hopefully he remains confident enough to keep stacking up his tier, keep stacking up his damage. That all that farm is going to give him bonus AP, keep helping him scale further and further. So you want to see him staying confident in the mid lane, keeping up that CS.
And it's all about the mid lane, I think, coming into this. The junglers are going to be offsetting everything, but these two mid laners just deal so much damage come the mid game. And I want to see them doing all they can to keep themselves as even, if not ahead, as possible. Corki now has the kill and the assist to the death of I Am Order. And here's the first fight on the bot side actually going in. Jin James gets really low. Toast had the ignite. There's the ultimate. Does not land on anybody. James, however, used his summoner heal and his ultimate, and only had his flash, decided not to use it. He wants it a little bit later. And that's a kill answered. Colorado coming out ahead on that exchange.
Yeah, and that's good for Colorado fans. You want to see that happening often. I mean, when you can catch out James in particular, it makes such a huge difference because he's that main carry, right? That star player. Soul Rush going to catch that bottom wave farm and hopefully make his way back up to mid in time for his own. But you can see the CS lead plus a kill. That's really good here.
Here it is. He is trapped on top of the ultimate from Swish, and there it is. But he gets 2. The scrap shield almost saves him. Double kill, burned 2 flashes, and still gets the kills. Nasus very tanky. Here's a great combo now onto I Am Order. A lot of damage coming from Soul Rush. That is a kill for the mid laner. 29A not able to stop that one. But oh my gosh, that top lane. He just sat and cooked on that equalizer and still managed to get both of them, staying alive for a long, long time. And he got a couple Kleptomancy procs, I want to say.
They're going to get that extra gold, and you can see now that he's opted for... Ooh, this could be a trade.
He does land the root, but I think that ward did see the Sejuani, did not want to go any further in.
Yeah, I was just about to comment on the Ezreal build path here. I think it's a mistake to go for the mod immune here. Like, if you... Ooh, finishes that.
Swish does finish that teleport. It is a 3v3. I don't know if that should have been finished. Oh, with Jarvan here, it might need to be, but he is spotted on that control ward. Plus, James is actually really low. No summoner heal. He can only heal up off of that Fleetfoot keystone. I don't know. Yeah, I don't think that finishing that teleport was advised. But we do see nearly that flame horizon in favor of Swish in the top lane. 104 to 65 CS. Soul Rush able to get up there and stop the further aggression onto the turret. And in fact, it looks like they just traded here. Soul Rush wants to be able to fight Ragnar. Might do a little bit better. A little bit more kill pressure, and then putting Rumble in the mid lane. But here comes the combo. Jin James is sucked in and caught in the Cataclysm. That's the first kill. Goes over to Toast. It's not ideal, let's say, because you want it on your carries. But now Dapper Dave is in a really bad situation. There's the equalizer. He jumps forward, trying to use the turret as cover, but James picks up that kill. Now Kraydon and Toast want to get the minions here. James still very low, even from before that whole big fight. Kraydon low as well. 29A has ult.
Yeah, I don't think you can go in 1v4, though. That's going to be first brick in favor of Utah. They're looking to close the series out in 2 convincing wins. They've now ballooned that gold lead to 3,000 in their favor.
I like that you use the term ballooned instead of snowball, because it's so common to hear snowball, snowball this, snowball that, but now it's ballooning. It's a much nicer word, I think.
They've manufactured ballooned. I like, yeah.
It is a nicer word.
Different
I like
choices.
And that's something a lot of fun in casting, is figuring out the different words. But now a package goes in. Jin James is in a lot of trouble because, dang, Soul Rush deals a lot of damage. Solo kill onto Jin James. A lot of good stuff coming out of Soul Rush here. 3-0-1 on this Corki. And now they're going to get their second Infernal Drake for Utah.
And that'll be huge for them. It's only 15 minutes in, and we've talked about the scaling potential of Xayah and especially Corki and the AP that'll be stacking here. The Leandry's been completed for Swish. Super Galaxy Rumble, he's spamming those emotes. I like it. But the catch here onto Ragnar, he's in trouble.
He got knocked up, and stunned, and he does get killed. Not worth using the ultimate, although he would have lasted a little bit longer. Dapper Dave is now in a solo fight. Never mind, it's a 2v1 because 29A is bringing in the Arctic Assault ultimate from Ezreal. Does go wide. Swish manages to make it out. Rift Herald goes back to the pit. Dapper Dave very, very low, but so is Swish, and now it is a 3v1. 29A thinks he wants this fight. Takes one turret shot. Swish gets the slow from the rocket, in addition to the Arcane Comet. But now he's got to be super careful because there are shields from Karma. There it is, the ulted shield. Taking damage. Swish gets the scrap shield, trying to do as much as he can. 29A might make it. He gets another shield and does survive. A clean dive there for Colorado.
Yeah, a little bit on the nail biter. Got kind of close at the end there. Nice shields from Jin James. Good target selection from Swish, trying to stay on whoever was tanking aggro. So nice choice from him, but they do get that catch. It's going to be 4 to 9 kills overall, but you can see 4,000, going to be even more here in the mid lane with another turret. That's 3 turrets now as they're rotating, maybe even taking a tier 2 here. That's a lot of gold in their pockets. They've still got red buff here on James, going to help him push as they answer in the top lane. You can see 29A is here with no...
That I don't like that play there. They had the attack speed bonus from Kraydon. They had the red buff and completed Trinity Force on Soul Rush. Yeah, you get the top lane. You barely get that turret, but you lose mid lane, outer, inner, and bot lane inner for a huge advantage for Utah.
Yeah, and now what I said was a 3,000 gold lead has gone up to the 5,000 mark. That's a lot. It's almost doubling, right? And so to that level... It ends up being that you've got core items. You mentioned the Triforce completed. Essence Reaver is now completed as well for James, with now Zeal in his inventory, an extra BF Sword for Soul Rush, going to be augmented by double Infernal. You can imagine that their damage is just off the charts at this point. They want to take every single fight possible as soon as possible and as often as possible. as possible as possible as possible. Right? Like,
is that even possible?
Is it? We'll have to see if they can force these fights. You can see Colorado going for whatever they might be able to sneak away, but it was started in vision, and now it's in full vision with the control ward put in there by Toast.
Does
Members
Corky
are pretty
have
close.
the
Here's
package?
the TP.
Rumble wants to get in on this action. Toast not wanting to go full aggro here. It looks like Shelly is going to de-aggro, but that was a good dissuasion here. Now it is 5v4 Utah in the lead numbers-wise, but there's a great ultimate there. A nice jump in from Toast. Stun up onto Kraydon. Not able to finish that combo, but he does get the kill. Jinjin James does go down, as does 29A.
Oof.
Teleport. I'm going to call it wasted at that point. But now Soul Rush flashes forward, wants to get the kill onto Dapper Dave. Instead, he finds I Am Order. Does not kill anybody. He does pick up one. He is stuck inside the baby cage, and he trades 1-for-1 there for Dapper Dave after getting the kill onto I Am Order.
Double kill. Nice snipe there onto I Am Order. It gets really low. The Primordial Burst doesn't quite take him out.
That's twice.
Yeah. So close. Soul Rush ending up trades that 2-for-1, taking down 2 main members of Colorado's lineup, and they get Shelly on the back end. They're going to use that Rift Herald buff probably in the top lane. They just took the outer. They're looking to take that inner. You can see it getting spawned out probably soon here. Yep, on the back end there by Kraydon over the wall. They're going to be looking to take now their 6th turret of the game. This will be the last outer. All that's left is to break that base open, Jihad, right?
Look at all that damage. It's already down to a 3rd health. Make that a 1/4. Shelly and James just doing so much work. It is down, and that is turret number 6, like you said. Fantastic play coming out of Utah right now. This double Infernal is helping them immensely.
Yeah, and with Baron spawning in under a minute, you can imagine they're just going to reset, keep the vision that they've already set up for themselves so well in this area. They might pressure it immediately with all that massive amount of damage. The Leandria will burn it even faster. There's so much ability here for Utah to just burst out a Baron that they might actually pressure it, if not going for that Dragon. It's just over a minute. We'll have to see what they prioritize. It looks like pings do go down towards the Baron. That means 20-minute Baron on the mark. There's a lot here. There's no teleport here for Swish. He's walking with the team. So that tells you they do want to prioritize it. And of course, Soul Rush is grabbing blue buff really quickly, going to join his team. He has that extra poke now.
He did just burn the package. What I would have wanted to see was, it was going to run out anyway, but an ultimate from Swish on top of a Cataclysm with the package. But all that crowd control, 29A might make it out. He is gone. He survives. That nice tanky Sejuani doing work here, but now not going to be there for the Baron fight. Ragnar is in the front line. Here's the jump forward. Kraydon is stuck inside the baby cage, but look at all this damage. There's the equalizer. Kraydon is still alive, though. Ooh. Flash is burned for Ragnar.
Yeah, Kraydon's pants are on fire. He's got to run. He's only got 200 health left, and that's him chugging away his refillable potion while he just sprints out of dodge.
So Toast gets caught with the not Primordial Burst, sorry, the Event Horizon, but no further damage to follow it up. And, you know, great catch on the 29A to get ready to start that Baron. I wonder if they should have gone for it instead of trying to take the fight. But now, you know, everyone gets out, they are okay, and now they're going to get a Mountain Drake, which will make it easier to get that Baron. I think that that's actually a really good move, and that next Drake spawning is another Infernal.
Ooh, that'll be huge. Colorado will want to take that fight.
Definitely.
If they can at all. And I mean, you just have members alive to try and steal it. It's so important to try and deny that third. You look, they might be able to catch out 29A again, or the Vygar, who's just alone in mid lane.
Ooh.
He's got teleport. Will he begin to channel it immediately? No, he's just probably going to die.
If he doesn't channel it right now, Jarvan has the knock-up. Alistar has the knockback. There is no turret there, I Am Order. You have no real escape. And he is just running and running and running. He's probably going to try and kill Kraydon. There's the ultimate I Am Order, goes really low. James getting the assist there. Kraydon picks up that kill. And massive source of damage now gone for this Baron fight.
Will they go for it now? They took out the jungler last time, but didn't translate that into the Baron immediately. This time they get the mid laner, who's a lot of damage. They might look for this. Another catch again. Jinjin James. Ooh, Flash traded for Flash, even though the next flash was not necessary. Ooh, James,
Wow.
the only person hit by that ultimate. Man, the Ezreal ultimate can do so much.
Oh,
that
no!
Snipe!
He got hit.
That snipe!
He got hit by the backside of the ultimate from Sejuani, but now Toast is in. There's all the damage down onto Dapper Dave. Soul Rush is dealing a lot. The Equalizer goes down. 29A is super tanky. Toast is going to be the next one to fall. Swish gets the kill onto Jinjin James, and now he needs to be with his team here. Teleport coming in from I Am Order, and he's going to deal a lot of damage. Primordial Burst helps 29A get that kill. This is bad news for Utah. Colorado wins that fight very handily.
Yeah, I mean, they don't decide to go for the Baron. They don't want to take all that extra poke from the Corki while their magic resist is reduced. They look to get as much as they can safely off of that nice win in the river. They get a couple of kills essentially for free. Nice snipe there from Dapper Dave using both of his summoner spells in the fight, but the Arcane Shift into Mystic Shot landing and max range, catching James by surprise.
Absolutely beautiful. James got, I forget how he got low, dodges out the initial part of the Glacial Prison, but then gets hit by the back side of it. Takes him down to probably 200 health. Like you said, Arcane Shift forward, Mystic Shot, boom, kill. No 80 carry means it's time to fight.
Yeah, I mean, they catch him. He takes a little bit of AoE damage just from the Karma and whatnot, a Mystic Shot there. And then on his way out of the jungle, he's just the only one in that tiny little space. And True Shot Barrage comes through, and it does a lot of damage to just one target if it doesn't get
That's
reduced.
what it was. That's right.
The True Shot Barrage just did so much, like 400 or 500 or so there. James gets taken so low that just the one Arcane Shift into Mystic Shot, of course, Gauntlet proc is going to hit Sashin. That's so much damage, he ends up taking him down. Lucky that it did, too. You can only imagine what would have happened if Dapper Dave had Arcane shifted forward and not gotten the kill there. He just probably gets instantly deleted.
Oh, for sure. Because he got jumped on right after. And 2 extra auto attacks coming from that Xayah probably would have bursted him out because he did get exceptionally low. But now we're in the dancing phase. Teleport is up for Switch. Swish. Teleport is up also for Ragnar. So both these top laners can join at any time. Just doing the Baron dance here. Now Kraton is in the pit. Soul Rush is going to join them. Sejuani does have ultimate. 29A wants to be here, wants to be able to contest, but Toast says no thank you. Yep. There is the ultimate from Ezreal to no avail.
I mean, it does do a little bit of damage, but you can imagine that's not going to make too much of a difference. We're going to slowly push out mid. You can see Swish answering that wave in the bottom. He's going to have Baron buff as well, no problem. Going to be pushing very quickly on his own. The problem here is the ability to wave clear for Colorado. There's really not much. The Spirit Fire here will help. You can see there's the use there by Ragnar the Sexy. It reduces the armor by a percentage, not by a flat amount anymore, of all targets, all enemies in
buff.
there. Yeah.
I remember when it was flat and it was annoying. Now it's a percentage. It's even more annoying. But there's the engage here. Ultimate to get the nice crowd control. Swish a little too far. But it looks like Utah wants to get an inhibitor on top of it. James now taking a lot of damage. There's a knockup from Kraton. A lot of damage from Soul Rush. Ragnar is barely alive. 29A also just barely alive. That nice cage there to get the stun on a few. James is still very healthy. Kraton taking a lot of damage. Is going to increase attack speeds here. Dapper Dave wants to get in and deal the damage, but suddenly James is hit. He gets hit with the ultimate, but it is not quite enough. And I Am Order not able to get that assassination. They need to calm down and back up. Baron buff still available for Utah.
Oh, that Primordial Burst, never enough. Right? Like, it just never seems to have enough ability power. Or is it the Magic Pen? What's necessary here? There's no magic resist on the targets he's been mostly putting that onto. It's just never quite enough damage to actually take him down. They always have like 100, 200 health left over, and it gets him in trouble sometimes. Luckily, it didn't end up meaning he died in that one, but it's been sad for him. He's wished so many times that that's been able to take them down.
Well, and if we look right here, we're 27 minutes into the game, and he's only got 400 ability power. Yeah. Some players, when they're really far ahead, have full builds by about this time. Toast wants to dissuade any fights. I think it was a little too much. His ultimate is not available, but now Kraton and James are here. Here comes the teleport. Flash burn from Toast. I guess he did have his ultimate. I thought I saw it on him a little bit earlier.
Okay, but that's like 25% of the front line gone for Utah for essentially nothing. You can see Toast is half of his team's massive front line, the tankiness. Ooh, the flash forward.
Jump in to try and hit Swish, but there is the equalizer on top of the package. Instant kill onto Sejuani, knock up onto I Am Sexy. A great ultimate from Kraton sets that up. James was in the wings the entire time. Dapper Dave is all alone. No, he's not. He is murdered. Soul Rush going over the wall to pick that one up. And now that's a free Infernal Drake for Utah, and they're just going to shove up this mid lane and take... No, I don't think they can take the game. I think that they should go on the bottom side.
Surely they can. They can end the game. They got
20
double
seconds?
wave. Yeah, double wave, and they've got 2 marksmen who are fed out of their mind. A Sheen proc will do enough. Soul Rush could even be pressuring these turrets on his own, if not the game. You can see already the minions doing the work, and now they're Baroned up. There it is.
Baron is still available.
Before anyone gets off the platform, they're on the Nexus, and you can see that's going to be it. Game 2, University of Utah taking it very convincingly. They had a 13,000 gold lead in game number 1. They end it here with 11,500, showing why they took the wins, right? They've got the superior lineup, at least so far, based on these showings. So congratulations, University of Utah. Great showing. James popping off in game 1. This time, I think it was the mid-jungle duo that really did the work.
Definitely.
You know, Soul Rush comes in, subbed in for game 2. He does work alongside Kraton.
Yeah, another really big thing is Kraton didn't give first blood to the Nasus.
No,
I mean, not the flame, but you're right. Just Soul Rush staying perfectly even there. The numbers, the minion numbers were exactly the same, but then Soul Rush gets that nice roam with the package, gets a second one onto Karma, gets a solo kill, does all these things, really putting himself into the game with the extra range and the nice scaling and the extra damage on that Trinity Force from the Corki. Fantastic play out of Soul Rush.
Yeah, and decent play out of Swish, too, in the top lane. I want to say nice
good.
ultimates from him. He turned around that gank underneath the turret into his own kill. And even when he got caught, right at the end there, when he was the only person that died for Utah, his equalizer on top of that package, you just saw, like, health bars going, like, just, like, getting deleted. The damage over time was insane.
Well, and then they got locked in on top of it in the Cataclysm.
Dream,
it
right?
is
the
dream.
Cataclysm and the equalizer together, and it feels like another equalizer because of that Valkyrie. So we're going to go to a quick break before we get into our second match of the evening. Congratulations once again to University of Utah on their win versus Colorado. After the break, we'll be here for our best of 3 between Stanford and Oregon State University. You don't want to miss that, so we'll be right back in just a few minutes. PACG returns after the break.